I will. I will start.
Cram does.
Okay, Cram will do it then.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Kramzer here, and today we are making our picks for our favorite albums of 2013. Not a whole lot happening as far as music news goes in this year. Stone Temple Pilots fire Scott Weiland. They replace him with Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. They release an EP. Lou Reed dies, but not a whole lot else to talk about. At the end of the 2012 video, Cram talked about how this was a pretty decent decade for pop music. And I think that's especially true in 2013. There were quite a few pop hits that I actually quite enjoyed in 2013, including, but not necessarily limited to, Royals by Lorde, Get Lucky by Daft Punk. People may find this one hard to believe, but I really like Hold On, We're Going Home by Drake. Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus I actually like a good bit. I think it was a pretty good time. There were a lot of big hooks in pop songs. A lot of people going back and doing really kind of synthy 80s throwback type of stuff, which I enjoyed a lot. 2013, I was starting to play in an 80s cover band, so I was getting into some synthy stuff around this year here. We'll see if that reflects in my picks or not. Let's see what you guys think and what you got for your picks.
I agree 100% with Jason about sort of a nice movement in popular music, a little bit retro 80s stuff going on. To me, this is probably the best year of the decade. I've got 25 plus albums at 4 stars and up. I've got 6 5 stars and 3 more 4.5s. So it's loaded. Some ones that didn't make it, looking at the surprising return of My Bloody Valentine, MBV, Optica by Shout Out Louds, Days Are Gone by Haim, Random Access Memories by Daft Punk, Country Sleep by Nightbeds, Room Filled with Lights by Pharrell, Pure Heroin by Lorde, Just Missing, Trouble Will Find Me by The National, Just Miss Me, and where you at, Fizzle Bomber? This is your time to shine. Foals with Holy Fire, Just Missing. That leaves my 6 5-star albums, and the one that I have to cut, but I still think is great, 5 stars, is Muchacho by Phosphorescent. So here are my runner-ups. The first one I have to give 100% credit to Jason for introducing me. Caveman by Caveman. We went to see Phosphorescent and they opened, and this album is fantastic. I also have Waking on a Hazy Day by Kurt Vile. I still think I prefer Smoke Ring, but this one is awesome as well and maybe objectively better. The next one I'm going to talk about, you got to go back to my 2008 video because I got to clarify something here. It's going to be Modern Vampires of the City by Vampire Weekend. 5-star album. I think I kind of undersold how much I like them in the 2008 video. I think they're awesome. It's more just like there is this group of people that really think that Ezra and Vampire Weekend are like the next Beatles, and everything after 2008 stems back to Vampire Weekend and the greatest gift to music ever, or since the Beatles or whatever. And it's just like, just pump the brakes a little bit. They're awesome, but not that awesome. They're just a good awesome and great. So I've got that on there. And then I've also got, you guys were pretty good guessing my winners here, but you didn't put your finger on this one. Nighttime, My Time by Sky Ferreira. Also kind of falls into that little bit of 80s retro, kind of dream pop, very poppy though, album. But my winner, which does all of those things even better, is going to be Heartthrob by Tegan and Sarah. This is an immaculate pop record that should have taken off as the most popular record of the year, should have been all over the radio, because virtually every one of these songs is just awesome as a radio single. It is full of hooks and pops for days. It is just this awesome, robust kind of 80s synth pop album. It's not too robust. It's not like a stadium rock album or anything like that, because the lyrics are really bedroomy, and everything's big and robust, but kind of honed in to fit all of these songs, or mostly about relationship breakups and nothing too heavy. The pre-choruses on this album are poppier and hookier than 95% of pop music out there. I absolutely love it. Jason will probably go on more about it if it's on his list, about how good the production is, and the production is amazing. Everything just sounds full and rich and incredible. I think that it has some of the better just like hooks and harmonies of anything that's come out in a while. The songwriting is immaculate. Everything just gets stuck in your head. I had my 13 list done a few days ago, but I even listen to this album when I'm at the gym. That is how energetic this album can be. It's just a big jolt of sugary pop candy goodness. I love it. I love every second of it. There's not a skippable track on it. My winner, Heartthrob by Tegan and Sarah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I listened to it the other day. Liked it. Was fine. Kind of reminded me of like Bananarama a little bit. Like that. But the updated sounds. Like people think of 80s pop and they think of sort of like the cheesy production. Like this new wave of pop, it kind of had like the same beats and sounds, but like the production sounds so much better because it's like modern technology. It doesn't sound nearly as kind of cheesy and dated. So yeah, I guess it was around 2013, maybe 2012, kind of started sneaking in that 80s throwback stuff, which will continue into the next couple of years. I have some favorite pop albums that pull from that. For this year, don't quite share the same enthusiasm as Kramzer. I have 0 5-star, maybe 1 5-star. I haven't totally decided yet. Mostly some 4 stars that missed the list, but I'm going to mention anyway. Janelle Monáe with Electric Lady, Arcade Fire with Reflector, which I like a lot. It might be my second favorite Arcade Fire. Dream Theater self-titled, Kanye West and Yeezus, which if I had to pick, like, if I was a critic and I was like, okay, the best album in 2013 is Yeezus by Kanye West, but it's just so harsh and hard to listen to. Just misses out on my top 5. My real runners-up, we got Same Trailer, Different Park by Casey Musgraves. Just country, it's close to pop country, but she's obviously a much better songwriter and singer. And it doesn't fall into that kind of like cheesy, lame pop country radio stuff. It's a lot more intelligent than that, and it's very good. Also on my list, I got Days Are Gone by Haim, which I prefer to the Tegan and Sarah 80s sound. They both kind of dabble in that 80s, but I think the Haim one is a little more like, like Sheena Easton 80s instead of sort of Bananarama 80s. Both good though. Also on my list, kind of back on my old bullshit with this one, Queens of the Stone Age, like Clockwork, nice return to form for them. Also dipping back into my standard trusty bands. I got Coheed and Cambria with the Afterman Dissension, their second part of their Afterman saga. Probably their best since 05 and Good Apollo. Very good, like it a lot. The last time they're going to make my list, however. My winner, what could it be? What?
I'm saying Daft Punk.
Well, that is incorrect. I don't particularly like that Daft Punk album that much. Not even 4 stars for me. I think it's wildly overrated in general. There's some good stuff on there, but it takes forever to get there. My winner is going to be another pop superstar that you didn't mention in any of your guesses, Lady Gaga with Art Pop. Love this one. It's super cold. It's icy. She's like total biatch mode in this one. It's great. Kind of harkens back to the famed Monster, where she was sort of like detached and like not even there. Born This Way is like, she tried to get in like little like Springsteen and like Madonna, too much territory. They had Born This Way, which sounded like Madonna. And then there was Edge of Glory, which had a saxophone solo from Clarence Clemens. So she's kind of dabbling in a little warmer pop tones there. This one, she's all about like Versace and fashion and like being completely detached It's like sexy, but in like a completely cold way. Despite her being like, I'm going to show you behind the, Gaga persona. And it kind of melts away at the end. She kind of gets back into the sort of poppier Madonna-esque 80s stuff, but it's just so kind of like dark and, I don't know, detached, a lot of icy synths, very much electronic production, a lot of the 4 on the floor stuff. And I love it. I just think it's her best work, sort of what I want to hear from Gaga. After this, she would go on to do Joanne and kind of the country stuff and Cheek to Cheek with Tony Bennett. But this is the Gaga I like. And I don't know, it didn't hit with critics. They didn't seem to like it much. There was an R. Kelly song on this album that has now disappeared forever. So if you listen to it today, there's this crummy rap song like in the middle of the album, destroys the flow. But the original has an R. Kelly track, which was really good, but he's been canceled for many reasons. So if you listen to it now, it's not quite as good as it used to be, but still a great album. So Lady Gaga winning it all in 2013 with Art Pop.
All right. So I love 2013. I think probably my favorite of the decade. 2016 might come close. We'll see when we get there. A few records that I had in my top 5 that fell out upon redoing this list that I still really like a lot. Modern Vampires of the City by Vampire Weekend, Days Are Gone by Haim, and The Bones of What You Believe by Churches. All great. Also love Songs from the Vanished Frontier by Yellowbirds. But getting into what remains in the top 5, I've got Heartthrob by Tegan and Sara. Really great. It was my number 2 back in 2013. Just like Cram said, hooks and hooks and hooks, and the production's awesome. There's a bunch of producers on it. I think Greg Kurstin does most of it. He's working with the Foo Fighters now, most recently. And I like all of Tegan and Sara's records, and they came close to my list a few other years. Admittedly, the songwriting kind of takes a back seat here. It's not quite as interesting songwriting-wise, but they just layer on the hooks so thick that it's forgivable. That's in the list. I've also got Stories Don't End by Dawes. I think they were getting a little self-conscious at this point about being labeled such a throwback to the 70s that they tried to modernize their sound a little bit. They bring in Jakir King, who produced the big Kings of Leon record, Only by the Night. Tries to update their sound a little. Honestly, I don't love the production on it. I think the bass is a little too heavy, but the songwriting is just really, really good. Great songs like Something in Common and Most People, and just tons of good songs on it. Really good. Then I've got We Are the 21st Century Ambassadors of Peace and Magic by Foxygen. I love it. I think if you like 60s rock, you'll dig it. They kind of dabble in all kinds of 60s influences, from the Velvet Underground to Bowie to Dylan, just kind of a mishmash of all these 60s influences. I, like Cram, also have the Caveman record on my list. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like indie rock, but it's kind of synthy. The melodies are catchy, but they're not like the same kind of hooks that the Tegan and Sara have. They kind of worm their way into your brain a little more slowly. But then my winner is going to be Country Sleep by Nightbeds. I may have fallen in love with this record faster than any record I ever have in my life. I think probably within the first 2 seconds, I knew it was going to be my favorite album of the year. Back in 2013, when I heard it, it opens with the a cappella vocals on Faithful Heights, and I just immediately knew that I loved it. His voice is so good, Winston Yellen. And from there, it's just, a very sparse record, not a ton of instrumentation, but enough variety, and they kind of pick and choose their spots of where they use different things. There's a little bit of pedal steel on a track or two. There's violin on some tracks. There's more elaborate kind of string quartet arrangements on a few other songs. Really cool kind of slinky bass groove on Wanted You in August. But the whole thing, I think, just comes down to good songs, his voice mainly being incredible, and just the vibe of the whole thing. Absolutely love it. I think the arrangements are great, and just love the way it sounds, the whole thing.
Yeah, his voice is amazing, but I do kind of have like maybe a half point against him, just because sometimes, and I know you don't want to hear this because you don't agree with me, but He almost sounds like he's doing a Ryan Adams impression a lot of times. But yeah, that album's really good. And Ramona is probably my favorite song of that year. That song is amazing.
I've never heard of that band before. Well, I guess I'll have to listen to it.
I wouldn't say he does have like a Ryan Adams influence. I don't know that he's necessarily doing an impression, but I hear, to me, he's kind of like Ryan Adams with like a pinch of Jeff Buckley. Ryan Adams, but his voice is a little bit more elastic than Ryan Adams. He can kind of do more kind of vocally elaborate things with it.
I would agree. That's a great description. And I like his voice more than Ryan Adams. It's just a personal thing. When I listen to it, I can't get it out of my head. I'm like, is this Ryan Adams? No, obviously not. He's not doing an impersonation, but it just kind of bothers me. It's my own fault. I got to get over it.
Anything to add about 2013 before we sign off?
Thank God it's over, because now we get into one of my favorite back-to-back years since the 70s. 14 and 15 for me. It's just loaded. I don't know what it is. Even the bands that like put out these great records that I love in 14 and 15, like, yeah, I went back and forth and like looked at their next albums and their previous albums. None of them are as good as what they put out in 14 and 15. There's something in the water. I don't know. People were just putting out their epics in those 2 years. So I'm very much looking forward to both of those years. I've already started listening, and I still love it. I thought maybe I wouldn't. Maybe my memories have been tainted. I was, trying to give people high ratings or something, but now I think my ratings hold up, and really looking forward to them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to 14. 13, if you probably back in 13, my winner probably would have been Kurt Vile, but I feel like my 14 and my 15 winners have been locked in since those respective years. So it'll be a challenge over the next period of time going into this to see if anything overtakes my projected winners. But yeah, 13 was tough. The one that climbed the most for me was probably, and I still only had it 4.5, was probably Trouble Will Find Me by The National, which I originally had like borderline 3.5 and 4, but some of the songs have stuck with me and taken turns getting into like playlists over the last 6-7 years or whatever. So when I realized that like I'm in love with 7 or 8 of these songs, then it's pretty much the whole album. So I must love the album. And sure enough, I really enjoyed it a lot listening through. So,
all right. Well, let us know what you think of our lists. Drop your own list down in the comments. You can do 5, 10, 20, whatever you want to do. If you feel lucky, maybe you can take a stab at guessing what our 2014 list will be. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. And also check down in the description for links to our social media accounts. We've got a website now as well, so check that out. And we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.